What if I told you that 90% of your immune system, your mood, your energy levels, and even how fast you age is being controlled right now by trillions of microscopic organisms living in your gut, and that the single most powerful thing you can do to support them isn't a probiotic supplement? It's a specific category of food that most people have never heard of. Most people have been told to take probiotics for gut health, and probiotics matter. But probiotics without prebiotics are like planting seeds in dry, barren soil. They don't survive. They don't thrive. They don't do what you need them to do. Prebiotics are the food your gut bacteria need to colonize, to multiply, and to produce the compounds that regulate nearly every system in your body. And today, I'm going to show you 20 of the most powerful prebiotic foods on Earth, all backed by real science and thousands of years of human use. Stick around, because number 3 on this list is one of the most concentrated prebiotic substances found anywhere in nature, and it's been hiding in your coffee routine for decades. And number 19 is one of the most counterintuitive gut health discoveries in modern nutrition science. And it starts in your kitchen with a food you probably already eat every single night. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we post new videos every week connecting cutting-edge nutrition science with the foods your body was built to thrive on. Let's get into it. Here are 20 prebiotic-rich superfoods that will heal you instantly, ranked from remarkable to absolutely extraordinary. 1. Green bananas. The resistant starch revolution. Let's start with a food most people overlook because they prefer the ripe version. But from a gut health standpoint, the green banana is a fundamentally different food than its yellow counterpart, and in the best possible way. Green bananas are loaded with resistant starch. This is a type of carbohydrate that your small intestine cannot digest. Instead of being absorbed as sugar, it travels intact to your large intestine, where your gut bacteria ferment it and use it as fuel. That fermentation process produces short-chain fatty acids, primarily butyrate, acetate, and propionate. And these compounds are among the most important molecules your gut produces. Butyrate is the primary energy source for colonocytes, the cells that line your colon. It maintains the integrity of the gut wall, preventing the permeability that leads to what many researchers call leaky gut. Studies have shown that butyrate also has anti-inflammatory effects that extend far beyond the gut itself, including reducing systemic inflammation markers associated with metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, and accelerated aging. A green banana contains roughly 4.7 grams of resistant starch per 100 grams. A ripe banana contains almost none. The starch converts to sugar as it ripens. This doesn't mean ripe bananas are bad. It means green and slightly underripe bananas serve a completely different biological function. Add green bananas to smoothies, where their mild, slightly starchy flavor disappears. Cook them into savory dishes, the way Caribbean and West African food traditions have done for centuries. Slice and bake them. However you enjoy them, your gut bacteria will put every gram of that resistant starch to work. 2. Jerusalem artichokes, the prebiotic powerhouse nobody's heard of. This one deserves far more attention than it gets in mainstream nutrition conversations. Jerusalem artichokes, also called sunchokes, are not related to the artichokes you know from Italian cuisine. They're the tuber of a sunflower species native to North America, and they are one of the richest natural sources of inulin found anywhere in the food supply. Inulin is a prebiotic fiber, a long-chain fructan that your digestive enzymes cannot break down. Like resistant starch, it passes to the large intestine where beneficial bacteria, particularly Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus species, selectively ferment it. The research on inulin and these bacterial strains is extensive. Studies consistently show that inulin supplementation increases counts of beneficial bacteria while reducing populations of potentially harmful species. A 100-gram serving of Jerusalem artichoke contains between 16 and 20 grams of inulin, an extraordinary amount. For context, most prebiotic supplements on the market deliver 5 to 10 grams per dose. You're getting double that from a single serving of a whole food. Traditional Native American communities cultivated and ate sunchokes for centuries before European contact. They understood empirically that these tubers sustained strength and digestive comfort. Modern microbiome science has now explained exactly why. Roast them like potatoes. Slice them thin and add them raw to salads for a slightly sweet, nutty crunch. Puree them into soups. One important note: if you're new to Jerusalem artichokes, start with a small portion. The fermentation activity they trigger is potent, and your gut bacteria need time to adjust. 3. Chicory root, the most concentrated prebiotic on Earth. This is the one I mentioned at the opening, and I want you to understand just how extraordinary this root actually is. Chicory root contains up to 41 grams of inulin per 100 grams of dry weight, making it the single most concentrated natural source of prebiotic inulin available. Commercial inulin supplements, the very supplements sold in health food stores for gut health, are almost universally derived from chicory root. If you've ever taken an inulin or FOS supplement, you've been taking chicory root extract without knowing it. Beyond raw inulin content, chicory root has a centuries-deep history in traditional medicine. European herbalists used it for liver support and digestive regulation. Ayurvedic practitioners valued it for its cooling and detoxifying properties. And here's the connection to your daily routine. If you've ever seen chicory on a coffee packaging label, you've encountered this root in its roasted ground form, a caffeine-free beverage that looks and tastes remarkably like coffee, and has been used as a coffee substitute since the Napoleonic era, when continental Europe faced coffee shortages. Clinical research on chicory inulin shows measurable improvements in bowel frequency, stool consistency, and bifidobacterium counts after regular consumption. A study published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that chicory root inulin significantly increased beneficial bacteria counts and improved multiple markers of gut function in healthy adults over a 4-week period. You can use chicory root powder as a coffee alternative or additive. It's available in health food stores and online. Start with a small amount, a teaspoon in hot water, and build from there. Your microbiome will respond faster to chicory root than to almost any other food on this list. 4. Garlic, the prebiotic most people don't know they're already eating. We covered garlic in our collagen video for its sulfur content and its ability to inhibit collagen-degrading enzymes. But garlic earns its place on this list for an entirely different reason. It is a prebiotic food that selectively feeds the most beneficial bacteria in your gut. Garlic contains fructooligosaccharides, FOS, as well as inulin-type fructans. These compounds resist digestion in the small intestine and arrive in the colon, where bifidobacterium and lactobacillus strains preferentially consume them. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition found that garlic consumption increased bifidobacterium and lactobacillus populations, while simultaneously reducing the growth of potentially harmful bacteria, including Clostridium perfringens. The prebiotic mechanism works alongside garlic's antimicrobial properties, specifically from allicin and its derivatives, in a way that appears to selectively support beneficial microbes while suppressing pathogenic ones. This is a more sophisticated action than most people attribute to garlic's gut effects. Traditional food cultures across the Mediterranean, Asia, and the Middle East have used garlic as a culinary and medicinal staple for millennia. The modern microbiome research is revealing the precise mechanisms behind what those traditions understood empirically. Crush or mince garlic and let it sit for several minutes before cooking. This allows enzymatic conversion that protects the beneficial compounds even through heat. Use it raw in dressings and dips for maximum prebiotic delivery, and eat it consistently. Daily garlic use is where the research shows the strongest microbiome effects. 5. Onions, the prebiotic you eat every day without thinking about it. Onions are one of the most consumed vegetables in the world. In almost every culinary tradition on Earth, the onion is the foundation of flavor, and embedded in that universal culinary use is a prebiotic benefit most people are getting without realizing it. Onions are rich in both inulin and fructooligosaccharides, two distinct prebiotic fibers that work synergistically to feed beneficial bacteria. A raw onion contains approximately 4 to 7 grams of prebiotic fiber per 100 grams. That's a meaningful contribution to your daily prebiotic intake from a food that's already in most meals. Quercetin, the flavonoid that gives onions part of their anti-inflammatory reputation, adds another layer of gut benefit. Quercetin has been shown to support the integrity of the gut epithelium, the cellular lining of the intestinal wall, and to modulate the immune activity that the gut-associated lymphoid tissue controls. About 70% of your immune system is located in and around your gut wall. The condition of that wall and the microbiome that supports it is directly tied to how well your immune system functions. Red onions contain higher polyphenol content than white or yellow varieties, but all forms deliver meaningful prebiotic fiber. Eat them raw in salads and salsas for maximum fiber preservation. Caramelize them slowly to concentrate their sweetness, and pair them with resistant starch foods for a synergistic gut-feeding meal. The humble onion is doing more for your microbiome than most people's supplement cabinets. 6. Leeks, the underrated allium. Leeks belong to the same botanical family as garlic and onions, the allium family, and they share many of the same prebiotic properties while bringing a milder, more versatile flavor profile that works in a broader range of dishes. The prebiotic fiber in leeks is primarily inulin, concentrated especially in the white and light green portions of the stalk. Leeks also contain fructooligosaccharides, kaempferol, an antioxidant flavonoid associated with reduced inflammation, and significant amounts of vitamin K1, which supports bone metabolism and vascular health. For gut health specifically, the combination of inulin and kaempferol in leeks appears to work together. Kaempferol has been studied for its ability to maintain tight junction integrity in the gut epithelium. These are the molecular locks that keep the gut wall sealed and prevent undigested particles from entering the bloodstream. A leaky gut wall is one of the upstream causes of systemic inflammation. Supporting tight junction integrity through the compounds in leeks is a genuinely protective mechanism. Traditional European cuisines, particularly French, Welsh, and Belgian cooking, have always featured leeks prominently. Vichyssoise, cock a leeky soup, the leek-forward stews of northern France. These weren't accidental culinary choices. Leeks were understood as a health food centuries before the word prebiotic existed. Sauté them gently with olive oil and garlic. Braise them in bone broth. Add them raw and thinly sliced to grain bowls. They're one of the most flexible prebiotic foods on this list. 7. Asparagus, spring's gut-healing gift. Asparagus has a brief season and a bold nutritional profile. And for gut health, it delivers something particularly valuable, a combination of inulin, antioxidants, and prebiotic activity that makes it one of the most well-rounded, gut-supportive vegetables you can eat. A 100-gram serving of asparagus contains approximately 2 to 3 grams of inulin, primarily concentrated in the tips and upper stalks. More importantly, asparagus is one of the rare foods that provides a meaningful prebiotic dose in the form that most closely mirrors commercial inulin supplements. Short and medium-chain inulin fractions that are particularly well utilized by Bifidobacterium species. Asparagus is also rich in glutathione, one of the body's master antioxidants, and in folate, B vitamins, and vitamin K. It contains saponins, compounds that have been studied for anti-inflammatory and immune-modulating effects, and rutin, a flavonoid that supports vascular integrity and reduces oxidative stress. Traditional use of asparagus as a medicinal food goes back to ancient Greece and Egypt. Hippocrates himself documented its use for digestive complaints and urinary health. Ayurvedic medicine has long valued the asparagus species Shatavari as a tonic for gut and reproductive health. Roast asparagus with olive oil at high heat until just tender and caramelized at the tips. Steam it lightly and eat it with lemon and a drizzle of good olive oil. Eat it in season and eat it in quantity. This is one of the foods where consuming a full bunch in a single sitting is delivering a therapeutic prebiotic dose. 8. Apples, a prebiotic in every bite. There's a reason the old proverb about apples has endured across cultures and centuries. The humble apple, eaten daily, is genuinely doing something remarkable for your gut that science is only now fully mapping out. Apples are rich in pectin, a soluble prebiotic fiber found in the cell walls of the fruit, concentrated especially in the skin. Pectin is not like inulin or resistant starch in its structure, but it behaves as a prebiotic. It resists digestion in the small intestine, reaches the colon intact, and selectively feeds beneficial bacteria, particularly Akkermansia mutinifila, one of the bacteria most strongly associated with gut barrier integrity, metabolic health, and lean body composition. A study published in Anaerobe found that apple consumption significantly increased Akkermansia populations in human participants. Akkermansia lives in the mucus layer of the gut and helps maintain the thickness and integrity of that mucus lining, the first line of defense between the gut contents and the gut wall. Beyond pectin, apples contain quercetin, the same anti-inflammatory flavonoid found in onions, concentrated heavily in the skin. They provide malic acid, which supports digestive enzyme activity, and they deliver a matrix of polyphenols that feed the broader microbiome community beyond just specific bacterial strains. Eat your apples whole, with the skin, and chew them thoroughly. The mechanical breakdown of the cell walls releases more pectin and polyphenols than simply drinking juice, which loses most of the fiber entirely. One apple a day is a legitimate gut health intervention supported by real clinical data. 9. Oats. The prebiotic breakfast nobody's retiring. If you're eating oats for breakfast, you're already doing something genuinely beneficial for your gut bacteria, and the mechanism is more sophisticated than most nutrition conversations acknowledge. Oats contain two distinct prebiotic compounds: beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that forms a thick, viscous gel in the digestive tract, and resistant starch, which, as we discussed, acts as direct fuel for beneficial fermentation in the colon. Beta-glucan is one of the most studied dietary fibers in nutritional science. The evidence base for its effects on blood sugar regulation, cholesterol metabolism, and gut health is extensive and remarkably consistent. When beta-glucan dissolves in the gut, it slows gastric emptying, blunts post-meal blood sugar spikes, and creates the viscous environment that bifidobacterium and lactobacillus strains thrive in. What most people don't know is that beta-glucan also directly modulates immune activity. It's classified as a biological response modifier, a compound that primes immune cells, particularly macrophages and natural killer cells, to respond more efficiently to pathogens. This is why oat beta-glucan has been studied not just for gut health, but for immune resilience more broadly. Traditional oat-based diets in Scotland, Ireland, and Scandinavia, cultures that consumed oats daily, in every form from porridge to flatbreads, showed remarkable resilience in historical accounts. Cold climate populations that relied on oats for caloric sustenance were nourishing their microbiome with one of the most effective prebiotic grains that grows in temperate climates. Cook oats on the stovetop rather than in a microwave. Let them cool slightly before eating. This increases the resistant starch fraction. Top with green banana slices, berries, and a tablespoon of ground flaxseed, and you've built one of the most prebiotic, dense breakfast bowls in existence. 10. Barley, the forgotten grain that deserves to come back. Of all the ancient grains that fell out of mainstream Western diets as refined wheat came to dominate, barley may be the one with the strongest scientific case for revival. Barley contains the highest concentration of beta-glucan of any whole grain, higher than oats. A 100-gram serving of whole barley provides 5 to 11 grams of beta-glucan, depending on the variety. That level of beta-glucan has been shown in multiple clinical trials to meaningfully reduce LDL cholesterol, improve post-meal blood sugar regulation, increase beneficial bacteria counts, and reduce markers of systemic inflammation. The FDA has approved a qualified health claim for barley beta-glucan and heart disease risk, one of only a handful of food components to earn that recognition based on the weight of clinical evidence. Beyond beta-glucan, barley is rich in resistant starch and provides a complex matrix of prebiotic carbohydrates that feed a broader range of beneficial bacteria than any single prebiotic fiber alone. The diversity of prebiotic compounds in barley maps to greater microbial diversity in the gut, and microbial diversity is one of the strongest single markers of gut health and metabolic resilience. Barley was a staple grain across ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Rome, and Greece. The athletes of ancient Greece were sometimes called krithiophagoe, barley eaters, for their dietary staple. Modern nutrition science now understands exactly what those cultures were getting from their barley consumption that refined grain diets simply don't provide. Use pearl barley or hulled barley in soups and grain bowls. Substitute it for rice in savory dishes. Cook a large batch and cool it in the refrigerator overnight. You'll increase the resistant starch and double down on the prebiotic effect. If you're seeing the pattern here, that prebiotic foods aren't exotic supplements, but whole foods with deep roots in human history, then do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It helps this video reach people who are genuinely looking for evidence-based answers about gut health and nutrition. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and ring the bell. We cover nutrition, longevity, and ancestral wellness every single week, and I'd love to have you as part of this community. Now let's keep going. 11. Flaxseeds, the gut regulator hiding in your spice cabinet. Flaxseeds have been consumed by humans for at least 9,000 years, making them one of the oldest cultivated crops in the world. Ancient Egyptians grew them. Charlemagne made their consumption mandatory in his kingdom because he believed so strongly in their health effects. And modern microbiome science is validating his instincts with precision. Flax seeds provide a unique prebiotic matrix, both soluble mucilaginous fiber, the gel that forms when flax seeds are soaked in water, and insoluble lignin-bound fiber. The mucilaginous fiber feeds beneficial bacteria and helps bulk and regulate stool movement. The lignins, compounds that bind to fiber and resist digestion, are fermented by gut bacteria into enterolignans, which have been studied for anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and hormonal balancing effects. Flaxseed consumption has been shown in clinical trials to increase bifidobacterium and lactobacillus counts, reduce inflammatory markers including CRP, and improve stool transit time. It delivers omega-3 fatty acids in the form of ALA, which the body partially converts to the anti-inflammatory EPA and DHA. Ground flax seeds are significantly more bioavailable than whole seeds. The outer hull passes largely intact through digestion if unbroken. Grind them fresh or buy pre-ground and store in the refrigerator. Add a tablespoon to oatmeal, yogurt, smoothies, or baked goods. It's one of the simplest daily gut health habits with one of the broadest evidence bases supporting it. 12. Chia seeds, the gel-forming gut healer. Chia seeds have gone from ancient Aztec superfood to trendy health store staple. But the core nutritional story that drove their traditional use is genuinely compelling. When chia seeds contact water, they absorb up to 12 times their weight in liquid and form a thick, mucilaginous gel. That gel behavior in the gut is exactly what makes chia seeds prebiotic. The soluble fiber that creates the gel, primarily a polysaccharide called chia mucilage, feeds beneficial bacteria in the colon, slows digestion to stabilize blood sugar, and creates the moist, gel-like intestinal environment that supports smooth, regular bowel transit. Research on chia seed fiber shows increases in short-chain fatty acid production, particularly butyrate, following regular consumption. A study published in the journal Nutrients found that chia seed consumption supported beneficial microbiome shifts and improved gut transit markers in human participants. Beyond the gel fiber, chia seeds deliver alpha-linolenic acid, the plant-based omega-3, in meaningful amounts, alongside calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and complete protein. They're one of the most nutrient-dense seeds in existence, and one of the simplest to incorporate. Soak 2 tablespoons in water or plant milk overnight, and eat the resulting pudding with fruit. Add dry seeds to smoothies, where they'll hydrate in the blender. Sprinkle them on yogurt or oatmeal. The Aztec and Maya civilizations valued chia as a primary endurance food for warriors and runners. They understood the sustained energy and digestive stability these seeds provided. The mechanism behind that experience, prebiotic fiber supporting a balanced, high-functioning gut microbiome, is now documented in peer-reviewed research. 13. Lentils, the ancient gut fuel. Of all the legumes on this list, lentils deserve particular recognition for how efficiently they convert a single serving into prebiotic benefit. They're among the oldest cultivated crops in human history, domesticated in the Fertile Crescent over 11,000 years ago, and their role in sustaining healthy, long-lived populations across the Middle East, South Asia, and the Mediterranean is well documented. Lentils are rich in resistant starch, particularly when cooked and cooled, where the resistant starch content increases, and in soluble prebiotic fiber. Together, these compounds feed a broad population of beneficial bacteria, producing substantial amounts of butyrate and other short-chain fatty acids in the process. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that daily lentil consumption significantly altered gut microbiome composition in healthy adults, increasing populations of bacteria associated with gut barrier integrity and reducing inflammatory markers. The effect was comparable to some prebiotic supplement protocols. Lentils are also one of the best plant-based sources of iron, folate, and protein, and they're among the lowest glycemic carbohydrate foods available, partly because the resistant starch and fiber content blunts glucose absorption dramatically compared to refined carbohydrates. Cook red lentils into soups and dal. Use green or brown lentils in salads and grain bowls. Make lentil stew and refrigerate it overnight. You'll increase the resistant starch fraction and build a more powerful prebiotic meal the next day. Every serving is fueling your microbiome with compounds that some of the oldest food cultures in the world relied on for strength and longevity. 14. Chickpeas, the Mediterranean microbiome staple. If you want to understand why the Mediterranean diet consistently performs at the top of every longevity and health outcome study, part of the answer is in the legumes. And chickpeas are the legume that this tradition elevated above all others. Chickpeas provide prebiotic fiber in the form of resistant starch, raffinose family oligosaccharides, and soluble fiber. This combination feeds a diverse array of beneficial bacteria, including Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, a species so strongly associated with gut health and low inflammation that low levels of it are considered a biomarker for inflammatory bowel conditions. Research published in Applied and Environmental Microbiology found that chickpea consumption increased butyrate-producing bacteria in the colon and improved multiple markers of gut health in human participants over an 8-week trial. The effect was driven by the resistant starch and oligosaccharide fractions. Chickpeas are also high in protein, providing a combination of prebiotic fiber and satiating macronutrients that makes them one of the most functionally complete plant foods available. Hummus, chickpeas blended with olive oil, lemon, and garlic, is simultaneously delivering prebiotic fiber from the chickpeas, polyphenols from the olive oil, and additional prebiotic compounds from the garlic. It is, by any definition, a gut health food. Roast chickpeas for a crunchy snack. Add them to salads and curries. Make a large batch of hummus weekly and use it as a staple spread. The chickpea has earned its status as the centerpiece legume of one of the world's most studied health-promoting dietary traditions. 15. Black beans, the resistant starch champions of the Americas. Black beans are among the highest resistant starch legumes available, and in the culinary traditions of Central America, the Caribbean, and South America, they have been a cornerstone food for thousands of years. Eaten daily, at nearly every meal, in a way that constitutes one of the most consistent prebiotic feeding practices in any traditional food culture. A 100-gram cooked serving of black beans contains approximately 4 to 5 grams of resistant starch, among the highest of any food. They also provide soluble prebiotic fiber, polyphenols, including anthocyanins, the same antioxidant pigments found in blueberries that give black beans their dark color, and complete amino acid profiles when paired with rice. The anthocyanin content of black beans is nutritionally significant beyond aesthetics. These polyphenols are themselves fermented by gut bacteria and produce compounds with anti-inflammatory effects. Black beans are therefore delivering prebiotic fiber and polyphenolic prebiotics, two distinct pathways of microbiome support in a single food. Research consistently shows that regular legume consumption, including black beans, is one of the strongest predictors of healthy longevity across diverse populations. The blue zones, the regions of the world where people routinely live past 100 in good health, all feature legumes as a dietary cornerstone. Cook black beans from scratch rather than exclusively relying on canned versions. Though canned beans are still nutritionally valuable, cook in large batches and refrigerate or freeze portions. Black bean soup, black bean chili, rice, and beans. These are not just comfort foods. They are evidence-based longevity foods with a prebiotic foundation that science is only beginning to fully map. 16. Dandelion greens, the forgotten prebiotic garden weed. Here's a food that most people have literally walked past, pulled up as a weed, or dismissed entirely, while some of the most sophisticated nutritional benefits in their diet were growing wild in their own backyards. Dandelion greens are naturally rich in inulin, containing up to 13 grams per 100 grams fresh weight, making them one of the most prebiotic dense leafy vegetables available. They also contain bitter compounds, specifically sesquiterpene lactones, that stimulate bile production, support liver detoxification, and enhance digestive enzyme secretion. This bitter prebiotic combination is what makes dandelion greens particularly valuable. The bitter compounds prepare the digestive environment, stimulating the enzymatic activity and bile flow needed for efficient digestion, while the inulin feeds the bacterial community that completes the process. Traditional herbalists across Europe and Asia use dandelion root and greens specifically for digestive support and liver health. Indigenous North American communities ate dandelion greens as a spring tonic to restore gut function after the low-fiber diets of winter. Modern research supports this traditional use. Studies on dandelion extract show prebiotic activity, anti-inflammatory effects, and protective effects on liver tissue. The inulin content specifically increases bifidobacterium populations with consistent use. Add young dandelion greens to salads. Their bitterness pairs beautifully with sweet elements like apple or dried fruit and acidic dressings. Sauté them with garlic and olive oil to mellow the bitterness. Use them anywhere you'd use arugula or radicchio. This food is free in most backyards and pharmacologically potent in your gut. 17. Cocoa powder, the prebiotic hiding in your morning drink. This is the one that changes how most people think about their chocolate habit, because unsweetened cocoa powder is not a guilty pleasure. It is one of the most significant sources of polyphenolic prebiotics available in any food. Cocoa is extraordinarily rich in flavonols, particularly epicatechin and catechin, and in a complex array of polyphenols that the small intestine cannot absorb. Instead, they arrive in the colon, where gut bacteria selectively ferment them, producing metabolites with anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and cardioprotective effects. A landmark study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that daily consumption of a high cocoa flavonol drink significantly increased lactobacillus and bifidobacterium populations, while reducing Clostridium populations in healthy human participants. The prebiotic effect of cocoa flavonols was comparable to established prebiotic fibers, despite operating through a different mechanism, polyphenol fermentation rather than fiber fermentation. Cocoa also contains fiber, approximately 33 grams per 100 grams, mostly insoluble, making it a dual-action prebiotic. Polyphenols and fiber both reaching the colon and feeding the microbiome through different pathways simultaneously. This benefit applies to unsweetened, high-quality cocoa powder, not to commercial chocolate bars loaded with sugar and emulsifiers that undermine the very effects the cocoa provides. Add a tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder to your morning smoothie or oatmeal. Make a simple cocoa drink with hot water and a touch of honey. The Aztecs and Maya consumed cacao as a daily ceremonial drink for centuries. Their instinct about its power was correct. 18. Seaweed, the ocean's prebiotic pharmacy. We covered seaweed in the collagen video for its ability to stimulate fibroblast activity. Here, it earns its place for an entirely different reason, one that makes seaweed one of the most structurally unique prebiotic foods in existence. Seaweed contains sulfated polysaccharides, particularly fucoidin, laminorin, and agar, that no terrestrial plant produces. These compounds resist digestion in the small intestine and arrive in the colon as novel prebiotic substrates. Novel, because many of the gut bacteria that ferment them are rarely supported by the land-based diet most people eat. Seaweed essentially expands the diversity of your microbiome by feeding bacterial strains that land-based foods don't reach. Research on fucoidin and laminorin shows selective increases in bifidobacterium and Bacteroidetes populations, anti-inflammatory effects mediated by microbiome shifts, and, in several animal and in vitro studies, enhanced gut barrier function and reduced intestinal permeability. Japanese populations have consumed seaweed daily for thousands of years and harbor unique gut bacteria adapted specifically to digest marine polysaccharides, bacteria that most Western gut microbiomes lack entirely. Epidemiological data consistently shows that traditional Japanese populations have some of the lowest rates of inflammatory bowel conditions and gut-related disease of any population studied. Add nori sheets to meals. Include wakame in miso soup. Try spirulina powder in a morning smoothie. Seaweed is one of the few foods that genuinely expands what your microbiome can do, not just amplifies what it's already doing. 19. Cooked and cooled potatoes. The temperature transformation. This is one of the most counterintuitive discoveries in modern nutrition science, and I want you to understand exactly why it matters, because it changes how you should be thinking about one of the most common foods in your diet. When you cook a potato and eat it hot, the starches are fully gelatinized and rapidly digestible. Your small intestine absorbs them quickly as glucose, a relatively high glycemic response. But something remarkable happens when you cook that potato and let it cool. The gelatinized starch undergoes a process called retrogradation. The starch molecules realign into a crystalline structure that digestive enzymes cannot break down. This retrograded starch is now resistant starch, a prebiotic. Studies show that cooling cooked potatoes for 12 to 24 hours increases their resistant starch content by 2 to 3 times compared to freshly cooked hot potatoes. The glycemic impact drops significantly, and the resistant starch that forms feeds bifidobacterium and butyrate-producing bacteria in the colon with the same fermentation cascade we've seen with every prebiotic food on this list. This isn't destroyed by gentle reheating. If you cool a potato and then warm it moderately, a substantial portion of the resistant starch survives. The retrogradation process is partially irreversible. Traditional food cultures intuitively practice this. Cold potato salads, the Spanish tortilla eaten at room temperature, the British tradition of cold boiled potatoes eaten the following day. These weren't just convenience practices. They were extending the prebiotic benefit of every potato they cooked. Make your potato salads the night before. Cook potatoes in batches and refrigerate them. Eat them cold or gently warmed. The potato you've been eating for years becomes a different gut food when you simply let it cool. 20. Cooked and cooled rice. The ancient wisdom confirmed. And here we are, number 20. Saved for last because it represents a principle that applies not just to rice, but to an entire understanding of how food preparation transforms gut health. And because this food is eaten by over half the global population every single day, making it the most universally actionable discovery on this entire list. The same retrogradation process that transforms cooled potatoes applies with equal force to cooked rice. Freshly cooked hot rice has very low resistant starch content, perhaps 0.6 grams per 100 grams. Rice that has been cooled in the refrigerator overnight, and eaten cold or gently reheated can contain 2 to 5 times that amount, depending on the variety and cooling duration. A study published in the journal Food Chemistry found that cooking and cooling rice for 24 hours and then reheating it significantly increased resistant starch content compared to freshly cooked rice, and that this resistant starch survived moderate reheating in meaningful quantities. The culinary traditions that pioneered cooled rice consumption, sushi, onigiri, congee made from day-old rice, fried rice from refrigerated leftover rice, were in many cases doing something metabolically optimal without understanding the molecular mechanism. The Japanese practice of eating cold sushi rice, the Chinese tradition of fried rice made from yesterday's cooked grains, the South Asian habit of eating leftover rice cold or at room temperature. These were all delivering more prebiotic-resistant starch than the same rice eaten hot and fresh. The lesson is broader than rice. It's that food preparation is nutritional information. The temperature at which you eat cooked starches changes their fundamental metabolic and microbiome impact. This is knowledge that belongs in every kitchen. If you made it all the way here, you've just received a complete science-backed blueprint for feeding your gut bacteria from every angle. Let me leave you with the framework. Feed your gut with resistant starch through green bananas, cooked and cooled potatoes, cooked and cooled rice, lentils, and black beans. Flood your microbiome with inulin through Jerusalem artichokes, chicory root, dandelion greens, asparagus, and onions. Support the broadest microbiome diversity through the unique fibers in seaweed and the polyphenolic prebiotics in cocoa and apples. Use garlic, leeks, and flaxseeds daily to maintain the prebiotic foundation every gut needs, and leverage the gel-forming, butyrate-producing power of chia seeds, oats, and barley to support gut barrier integrity from the inside out. This isn't a supplement protocol. It's a food strategy, and it's available to anyone at any meal starting today. Smash that like button if this changed the way you think about your gut. Drop a comment below and tell me which one surprised you most. Are you Team Jerusalem artichoke, Team chicory, or Team cooled rice? I read every single comment, and I love hearing from you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that button and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Because the most powerful medicine for your gut doesn't come in a capsule. It comes on your plate, and now you know exactly what to put there.